Well, if you'll indulge me a few minutes, I'd like to talk about that UPS 2976, the MD11F that went down in Louisville. Let me tell you a little bit about that airplane and maybe something to give you something to think about. That airplane, in particular one, was built in 1991. That was back in the days when McDonnell Douglas was trying to come up with an airplane to compete with Boeing. Turns out that particular airplane, three-engine, only 200 of them were actually made. And they tried to fly them in the airlines, but they didn't meet up to the specs they were supposed to, and for fuel usage and time en route and everything else. So the airlines kind of let them go. KLM, I think, was the last one to fly it. Well, ultimately, the package people, the parcel folks, the UPSs and the FedExes, well, they're the ones driving these planes because they hold a lot of stuff. And this particular aircraft, 2976, it's a three-engine aircraft, and it's got obviously one engine on each side, and it's got the middle engine in the top. So it is three engines. Now, this aircraft weighs approximately 630,500 pounds. That, my friends, is 286 tons. Now, when it was taken off, it had around 50,000 gallons of JP4. That's gasoline, if you think about it. 50,000 gallons. You say, man, that's a lot of gas. Why do they have so much gas? Flying from Louisville to Honolulu, Hawaii, is about 7,000, a little over 7,000 miles. Takes roughly almost 9 hours, 8 hours and 40 minutes, I believe, because you're going westbound. You got a headwind because of the jet stream. So you're not going quite as fast and quite as quickly, but you're going to burn up a lot of gas going that distance. Well, here's the problem. That plane lined up, and there's two numbers you need to think about in this aircraft. By the way, it's a nice aircraft. It's a glass cockpit. It looks really nice, but there's two numbers to think about. In the airline biz or in the flying game, there's two numbers that are very crucial. One is V1, and the next one is VR. Okay, what does V1 mean? V1 is your go or no-go speed. And I'm thinking this thing probably was somewhere around 140 knots, 142 knots, somewhere in there. That's your go, no-go speed. That means that above that, well, you can't stop on the runway you have left. I mean, you can hit the brakes, you can do everything you can. The plane is not, it's going to go off the end of the runway. That's going to happen if you try to stop after V1. So that's your go, no-go speed. And then the next speed is called VR. That's your rotate speed. And usually that's 5-6 knots above the V1 speed. And it depends upon the aircraft and the weather conditions, everything else. But here's what happened in this aircraft. You have to understand, when a plane takes off, that engine is at the highest RPM it could possibly be. I mean, it is screaming as hard as it could go because you've got full throttle on the levers. I mean, you got this thing shoved to the wall. You got to get a lot of speed up because you got a big, heavy aircraft. Like I said, 630,000 pounds, 286 tons. That's a big aircraft. So you push it up, hit your V1, and wait for the VR to come along so you can rotate. Well, what happened to this aircraft? Something happened in that number one engine. The number one engine and the nacelle literally came off the aircraft. How and why, we don't know yet. But when it did, it cut through all the hydraulic lines and all the other hot lines that are going through it, and it burst into flame. Now, what happened with the plane was, because it went into that left wing, it essentially cut the left wing off. So if you got no lift on the left wing, but you got lift on the right wing, plane is going to do this kind of scissors routine. And you've seen some of the video that comes from people, dash cams and things like that. You see the plane kind of sliding like this. And it did. Came down the left side, and it cut a huge swath, about half a mile, and went through a lot of areas. Ultimately killed, I think, 11 or 12 people. And obviously the crew of 3 on board. Very unfortunate, very sad, but understand, takeoff is the most dangerous portion of a flight. You're going slow and you're trying to get to go fast. You got the engines at the high rev, and you're very heavy. You got all that gas on board. Landing, throttles all the way back, don't have a lot of fuel. It's easier. Let's put it that way. So it was unfortunate what this happened. Now, this is an old plane. Like I said, it was made in 1991, only 200 made, as I said earlier. But there's the problem. And eventually, we'll find out exactly what happened on that aircraft. Many years ago, a DC-10 had an engine separate. I think it was back around 1979 when that happened. But a fairly rare occasion when an engine will separate like that and then sell, because they found the engine on the runway. Now, that runway has pretty much been closed down because it's a crash scene. And so they got everything figured out and do all the inspections and try to put this thing together. They're going to have preliminary stuff. You'll learn that in probably 30 days. Long-term investigation is going to take about 2 years, because they've got to piece it all together, put things together, and try to figure out why that engine left the aircraft. And for whatever reason, they find that's a serious problem. All the other Mad Dog 11s could be shut down. Mostly, like I said, used by FedEx, UPS, as transports. And this airplane was a big transport, flying from Louisville to Honolulu, Hawaii. 8-hour flight, 7,000 miles, and 50,000 gallons of gasoline on board. That's what happened. Unfortunate, yes. We don't know when the pilot realized something had gone bad, but I'll tell you, when that engine let go and took the wing with it, wasn't much you could do. And you came in flying like a knife. And that's what happened in Louisville, Kentucky. And now maybe you understand a little bit more.